Hey guys, tonight we're travelling back in time, far away from city lights, far away from traffic noise, far away from glowing screens. Tonight's story is called How People Slept on the American Frontier. We're going to step into a quiet wooden cabin, deep in the wilderness, where the only sounds are the wind through the trees and the gentle crackle of a fireplace. If you enjoy slow, calming history like this, make sure to subscribe, because we post peaceful historical sleep stories regularly. And before we begin, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching this video from right now? I always love seeing where everyone is listening from around the world. Now, lower the lights, get comfortable, take a slow breath in, and let's begin. The sun is already sinking low behind the trees. The sky over the frontier glows in soft shades of orange and fading gold. The air carries a coolness that only comes when daylight begins to retreat. A lone wooden cabin stands at the edge of a clearing. It is small, simple, built from thick pine logs stacked carefully one over the other. No paint, no decoration, just wood, rough, honest, strong. Smoke rises gently from a stone chimney, curling upward into the evening sky. The surrounding forest stretches endlessly in all directions. Tall oak and pine trees form a darkening wall beyond the clearing. Somewhere in the distance a bird calls once, then falls silent. This is the American frontier, a place where life is quiet, but never truly silent. Inside the cabin, the wooden floor creaks softly beneath slow footsteps. The day has been long. Chores began before sunrise, water carried from the stream, firewood chopped and stacked, simple crops tended by hand, tools repaired. The frontier does not rush, but it does demand effort. Now, as evening settles in, the rhythm begins to slow. The cabin interior is dim. Only a small oil lamp flickers near the wooden table. Its flame dances gently behind thin glass. Shadows stretch long across the log walls. The scent of burning wood lingers in the air, warm, comforting, grounded. A heavy wooden door stands closed, secured with a simple iron latch, not for decoration, but for safety. Outside, wilderness surrounds everything. Wild animals roam the forest at night, coyotes, deer, sometimes even wolves. The frontier requires awareness, even in rest. A pair of worn leather boots rests near the door. Mud still clings lightly to their edges. Beside them, a thick wool coat hangs from a wooden peg hammered into the wall. Life here is practical. Nothing unnecessary. Nothing wasted. The small bed sits in the corner of the room, its frame built by hand, its mattress stuffed with straw and dried grasses, covered by layered wool blankets, not soft like modern beds, but sufficient, strong, reliable. The fireplace at the far wall glows softly. Flames flicker against darkened stone. The crackling sound fills the cabin with steady rhythm. Wood shifts gently as it burns, sending tiny sparks upward, each sound blending into a calming pattern. The person inside the cabin moves slowly now. No rush. Evening is a transition, from labour to rest, from movement to stillness. Hands brush dust from the wooden table. A small tin plate is washed with water from a basin, every action deliberate, careful. Outside, the wind begins to move through the trees. Leaves rustle softly. Branches sway gently against one another. The sky darkens further, deep blue replacing gold. The forest grows quieter, but more alert. Night creatures begin their silent routines. Inside, the oil lamp's flame is turned slightly lower, saving fuel, preserving resources. Frontier life teaches patience and planning. The person kneels near the fireplace, using an iron poker to shift the logs slightly, ensuring they will burn steadily through the night. Not too large, not too small, enough warmth, enough light. The flames respond softly, a quiet adjustment, a balance. A wooden bucket sits near the hearth, filled earlier with fresh water, prepared for morning, prepared for anything. The cabin walls hold faint marks from years of weather. Wind, rain, snow. Each season has touched this place, and yet it stands, firm, unmoving, a symbol of survival. The boots are removed slowly, set neatly near the bed, wool socks loosened, feet resting at last. There is a deep satisfaction in small comforts, warm fire, shelter from wind, a closed door. On the frontier, these are luxuries. The oil lamp flickers again, its glow softening as the night deepens. The person sits on the edge of the bed, listening, just listening, to the crackling fire, to the wind outside, to the quiet rhythm of breath. No distant traffic, no artificial noise, only nature, unfiltered, honest. A slow inhale, cool air entering lungs, a gentle exhale. The body begins to shift from effort to ease. Muscles that worked all day slowly release. Shoulders drop, hands rest loosely in lap. The mind, once focused on tasks and tools and time, begins to slow. Outside, an owl calls, low and distant, then silence again. The forest is not loud. It speaks in small moments. The oil lamp is finally extinguished. The cabin grows darker. Only the fireplace remains. Soft orange glow dancing across wooden beams. Blankets are pulled upward. Wool heavy but warm, comforting against the cool night air. The body lowers gently onto the straw mattress. It rustles softly beneath weight. Not plush, but steady, reliable. The fire continues its quiet song. The warmth spreads slowly through the room. The wind presses briefly against the cabin walls, then passes. The frontier night has begun, and inside this small wooden cabin, rest is about to follow. The cabin is darker now. Only the fireplace remains alive with light. Its glow pulses softly against the log walls. Outside, the sky is fully surrendered to night. The last traces of orange have disappeared beyond the trees. Cold begins to settle across the clearing. It moves slowly, like a quiet visitor, sliding across the ground, wrapping itself around the trunks of trees, pressing gently against the wooden cabin walls. Inside, warmth still holds its place. But on the frontier, warmth must be protected. It does not last without care. The person inside the cabin slowly rises from the edge of the bed once more. Sleep does not come until the fire is prepared correctly. A poorly arranged fire could burn too quickly, leaving the cabin cold in the deep hours of night. Or worse, it could flare too high, too wild. Safety and warmth depend on balance. A steady hand reaches for the iron poker. The fire responds with a soft crackle as the logs are shifted carefully. Not rushed, not forced. One larger log is rolled slightly toward the centre, its outer bark blackened, its core still glowing. Small embers tumble gently beneath it, orange and red like tiny stars. A smaller piece of wood is placed beside it, not directly on top, but angled, allowing airflow, allowing slow burn. Fire on the frontier is not just heat, it is survival. It cooks meals, boils water, dries damp clothes, keeps animals at a distance, and most importantly, it guards the night. The flames settle lower now, less dramatic, more patient. The goal is not brightness. The goal is endurance. The person kneels close enough to feel the warmth against their face, but not close enough to feel discomfort. Eyes watch the pattern of the flames. They move differently when arranged properly. Steady, even, predictable. The stone hearth radiates stored heat outward. It will continue releasing warmth long after the flames shrink. That is why the fireplace was built from thick stone. Every element of the cabin was chosen with purpose. Outside, the wind strengthens slightly. Branches scrape softly against one another. A hollow sound moves through the forest, like distant breath. The cabin creaks in response, wood adjusting to temperature, expanding and settling. These sounds are familiar, comforting. On the frontier, silence that is too deep can feel unsettling. Small natural noises remind the listener that the world is still moving, still alive. The fire shifts again. A small spark jumps upward, then fades. The person stands slowly, steps toward the wooden door. The iron latch is checked carefully, firm, secure. A second wooden beam rests horizontally across the inside. Extra protection. Not because danger is certain, but because caution is wisdom. A small square window sits near the table, covered with thick glass. The shutter is pulled closed over it now, blocking the view of darkness outside and keeping warmth inside. Preparation brings peace. When everything is secured, the mind rests easier. The person walks toward a small wooden box near the wall. Inside are simple items, extra candle stubs, a small flint, folded cloth, a pocket knife, each item placed neatly, each one useful, nothing decorative, nothing unnecessary. Frontier life leaves little room for clutter. The fire crackles softly again, a rhythm almost like breathing. Inhale, exhale. A log settles, releasing a brief shower of sparks that quickly fade. The oil lamp remains extinguished. There is no need for additional light. Firelight alone paints the room in gentle gold. Shadows stretch long and slow across the ceiling beams. The bed in the corner waits quietly, blankets folded back slightly, inviting. The person returns to the hearth one final time. Hands extend toward the warmth, palms open, fingers relaxed, feeling heat seep gently into skin. The warmth spreads up the arms, into the shoulders, into the chest. Muscles that laboured through the day now soften. Breathing slows, deepens. Outside, something moves faintly in the brush. Perhaps a deer stepping carefully between trees. Perhaps a fox hunting quietly. The forest has its own rhythm at night. The cabin is only one small part of that vast system, and yet inside its walls there is safety. The fire burns lower still. No tall flames now, only steady glowing embers. Exactly as intended, long-lasting, reliable. The person uses the poker one final time, a small adjustment, ensuring airflow remains. Then the iron tool is set aside. Leaning against stone, the act of tending the fire is almost meditative, each movement deliberate, each decision calm. There is no rush. The night is long. The frontier teaches patience. Without electricity, without artificial heat, without modern comfort, sleep depends on preparation. The wooden floor creaks softly as footsteps move toward the bed again. Boots remain near the door, coat hanging still. The cabin smells faintly of pine and smoke, a scent that will cling to clothing, to blankets, to hair. It is the scent of survival, of wood and flame. The blankets are pulled back further now, hands press lightly against the straw mattress, testing its firmness. It rustles gently. Straw beds were common, practical, replaceable, not luxurious, but sufficient. A thick wool blanket is lifted and shaken once. Dust motes drift briefly through firelight, then settle. Wool holds warmth well, especially in colder seasons. In winter months, extra animal furs might be added, but tonight the air is cool, not freezing. The person sits once more on the edge of the bed, listening. The fire has quieted to soft pulses. Small pops occasionally break the silence. The wind outside seems steadier now, a continuous low sound, almost like distant waves. The forest canopy sways slowly, leaves brushing against one another, a calming rhythm. The body begins to feel heavy, not from exhaustion, but from completion. The day's work is done. There are no remaining tasks, no unfinished repairs, no half-chopped wood. Everything necessary has been prepared, and so the mind begins to release. On the frontier, sleep was never careless. It was intentional. Doors secured, fire controlled, tools stored, water ready. Every small action before bed reduced uncertainty, reduced risk, reduced fear. Preparation creates calm. The person lies down slowly, back resting against the straw mattress, head sinking into a simple cloth pillow filled with feathers. The blanket is pulled up to the chest, heavy, warm, protective. The firelight dances gently across the ceiling beams. The glow grows softer, dimmer, embers breathing slowly. The sound of wind continues, but it feels distant now, separated by thick log walls. A slow breath in, cool air entering lungs, a slower breath out. The warmth of the hearth radiates across the room, wrapping everything in gentle heat. Hands rest loosely atop the blanket. Shoulders sink deeper into rest. Outside, the frontier night stretches wide and endless. Stars above the forest shine clearly. No city lights to compete. The wilderness is vast, unforgiving at times, but beautiful in its honesty. Inside the cabin, the fire has reached its perfect state. Low, steady, reliable. It will burn quietly through the night, providing comfort until dawn. The person's eyes close softly. Breathing slows further, matching the rhythm of embers, each exhale longer than the last. The body feels grounded, held by wood, held by stone, held by careful preparation. And as the wind continues its gentle movement through the trees, and the fire continues its quiet glow, sleep begins to approach, not sudden, not overwhelming, but gradual, like the lowering of the sun earlier that evening. The frontier night has been prepared, the fire is steady, the cabin secure, and rest is now allowed to arrive. The fire settled into a steady rhythm, not loud, not bright, just a patient glow within the stone hearth. Outside, the forest continues its quiet movements, but inside the cabin, another small ritual remains before full rest can begin. Supper on the frontier is never extravagant. It is not rushed either. It is simple, earned, and appreciated. The person rises slowly from the bed once more, not because of restlessness, but because hunger lingers gently after a long day of labour. The wooden floor creaks softly beneath careful steps, each sound familiar, each board known. The small wooden table stands near the centre of the room, its surface worn smooth from years of use, knife marks faintly visible in the grain. A tin plate rests there, cleaned earlier. Beside it, a small iron pot waits near the edge of the hearth. Inside the pot something modest simmers, beans, perhaps a bit of salted pork, maybe dried corn softened slowly over flame. Frontier meals are built from preservation, from what can last through winter, from what can be carried long distances. Fresh ingredients are rare luxuries. The iron pot lid is lifted gently. Steam rises into the dim firelight, carrying the scent of warmth and salt. The smell is comforting, not complex, but steady, reliable. A wooden spoon stirs slowly, the sound soft against metal. A few gentle rotations, ensuring nothing sticks, ensuring the meal remains warm. The person ladles a portion into the tin plate. Steam curls upward again, the heat visible in the cool cabin air. The plate is carried carefully to the table, set down with quiet respect. There is no rush to eat. Meals on the frontier are moments of pause, moments of gratitude. A simple wooden chair is pulled back. It scrapes lightly against the floor. Then stillness. The person sits, hands resting briefly in lap, looking at the meal, not judging it, not wishing for more, just accepting. The fire continues its low crackle, providing warmth and companionship. A small loaf of coarse bread rests near the edge of the table, baked earlier in the day, dense, hearty, sustaining. A knife slices through it slowly. The sound of crust breaking is soft but satisfying. A piece is placed beside the beans. The first bite is taken slowly, not large, not hurried, chewing steady. The body recognizes nourishment, energy returning gently. The second bite follows, then another. Outside, a faint rustle moves through the trees. Perhaps wind, perhaps a small animal shifting leaves. The cabin walls hold firm. The door remains secured. The world outside continues its rhythm, but inside this moment belongs only to warmth and quiet sustenance. The person dips bread into the beans, steam rising around fingers, the saltiness of preserved meat blending with soft legumes. Simple flavours, honest flavours, no spices beyond necessity, no sweet indulgences, just survival and satisfaction. The oil lamp remains unlit. Firelight alone paints the meal in soft gold. Shadows flicker across the table, across the hands, across the plate. The rhythm of chewing slows, breathing steady between bites. There is no conversation, no distraction, only presence. On the frontier, solitude is common, but it does not always feel lonely. It feels intentional. The final bite of bread is taken. The plate gradually empties. Warmth spreads from stomach outward. Fuel for tomorrow's labour. A small tin cup of water is lifted, sipped slowly, cool and clean, drawn earlier from the nearby stream, every sip valued, every resource respected. When the meal is finished, the spoon rests quietly against the plate. The person sits for a moment longer, listening to the fire, feeling the gentle heaviness that follows nourishment. Then movement resumes. The plate is carried back to the hearth. A small basin of water waits nearby. The dish is rinsed carefully. No soap, just water and cloth, every drop used sparingly. The iron pot is moved slightly away from the direct heat, preventing burning, allowing embers to continue their steady glow. The lid is replaced, any remaining food saved for morning. Waste is not an option. The wooden chairs return to its place, table cleared, everything restored to order. Frontier life demands routine. Routine brings stability. Stability brings peace. Outside, the night deepens further. Stars multiply overhead, uninterrupted by artificial light. The forest breathes in slow patterns. A distant owl calls again, low, echoing faintly. Inside, the cabin feels warmer now, not just from the fire, but from fullness. The body begins to relax more deeply. Shoulders soften, neck loosens. A slow breath enters, a slower breath leaves. The final ritual of the evening approaches. The person walks to the small wooden door once more, hand pressing gently against it, feeling the solid weight of timber. The latch remains firm, the wooden support beam secure. A brief pause, listening beyond the door, only wind, nothing else. The window shutter remains closed, blocking the darkness outside, protecting warmth inside. Satisfied, the person steps back, returns toward the bed. The blankets wait patiently, wool thick and inviting. The fire has lowered even more now, embers glowing like scattered rubies within ash. Occasionally, a faint spark rises, then disappears. The body lowers slowly onto the mattress once again, this time with no intention of rising. The straw rustles softly beneath weight. The pillow adjusts gently beneath the head. The blanket is pulled upward to the chin, warmth settling quickly, breathing steady. The meal complete, the fire prepared, the cabin secured, the forest calm. On the American frontier, nights were not filled with excess. They were filled with intention. Every small action mattered. Every small preparation allowed sleep to come without fear. The body feels heavier now. Eyes close gradually. The warmth from the hearth spreads outward like a protective shield. The mind drifts through small thoughts of the day. Wood chopped, water carried, fields tended, each memory fading quickly. Nothing urgent remains, nothing unresolved. The wind continues its low whisper beyond the walls, but it feels distant, muted, safe. The fire pulses gently, a steady glowing heartbeat of the cabin. Breath slows further. Inhale, exhale, longer exhale. The rhythm of the body matches the rhythm of embers. Outside, frost begins to form lightly across open grass in the clearing. The frontier night grows colder with each passing hour, but inside the cabin, warmth endures, because preparation was careful, because routine was honoured, because simplicity was respected. Sleep begins its quiet approach, not forced, not demanded, but welcomed. The last awareness is the soft crackle of wood shifting in the hearth, a comforting sound, ancient, reliable, and beneath the vast starlit sky of the American frontier, inside a humble wooden cabin, after a simple supper of beans and bread, rest finally takes hold. The meal has been eaten, the fire has been steadied, the blankets have been pulled close, but on the American frontier, true rest does not begin without one final awareness. The night outside has fully matured now. It is no longer early evening, it is the deeper stretch of darkness, the hour when the forest feels different, more alert, more alive. Inside the cabin, the embers glow low and steady, their light no longer bright enough to fill the entire room, but enough to shape shadows along the log walls. The person lying beneath wool blankets shifts slightly, not awake fully, but not fully asleep either. There is a frontier instinct, a quiet habit, before surrendering completely to sleep. One more check. Slowly, carefully, the body rises from the straw mattress. The blankets slide back with a soft woolen sound. Bare feet touch the cool wooden floor. It feels colder now. The warmth from the fire is gentler than before. The night has settled heavily outside. Step by step, the person walks toward the door again. The cabin creaks softly with movement, each sound known, each board familiar. The iron latch is touched once more, cold beneath fingertips, firm, unmoving. The wooden beam bracing the door remains secure, solid. A small breath leaves the chest, slow, satisfied. Next, the window shutter. A hand presses lightly against it. No movement. The hinge steady. The outside world sealed away for the night. Preparation is not fear. Preparation is peace. On the frontier, unpredictability exists, but careful routine reduces it. The person stands quietly for a moment longer, listening, truly listening. Beyond the thick log walls, there is wind moving through branches, a low, continuous hum. Occasionally a sharper gust brushes across the cabin roof. The wooden structure answers with faint settling sounds, not alarming, just wood responding to cold. Then, a distant sound, very faint, perhaps the cry of a coyote far across the forest, long and thin, echoing briefly, then fading into silence. The sound does not bring panic, it brings awareness. Wildlife is part of this land. Predators roam. Prey moves quietly. The frontier night has its own language, and tonight it speaks softly. The person turns from the door, walking toward the fireplace once more. The embers glow deeper red now, a soft orange pulse beneath grey ash. One knee lowers gently to the floor. The iron poker is lifted quietly, not to rebuild the fire, but to ensure it remains safe. A small shift. One ember moves slightly inward, ash settling gently around it. No sparks fly, no flames rise, just steady warmth preserved. Satisfied, the poker is returned to its place, leaning against stone. The air inside the cabin feels still, protected, warm enough, safe enough. The person rises again, moves slowly back toward the bed. The blankets wait patiently, heavy, reliable. The straw mattress rustles softly as weight returns. This time, there will be no more rising. This time, sleep is permitted to come fully. The body settles deeper, shoulders relax, hands rest gently over the blanket. The fire's glow dims slightly more. The cabin grows darker, but not entirely black. The embers continue their quiet breathing. Outside, the wind shifts direction. The sound against the walls changes subtly, now brushing more along the side of the cabin. Leaves scrape lightly against logs. A branch taps once against the roof, then again, then stops. Inside, breathing slows, longer inhales, even longer exhales. The frontier night moves forward steadily, hours stretching quietly. The stars above the forest shine clearly in the open sky, constellations visible without interruption. The moon hangs high now, casting pale silver light across the clearing. If one were standing outside, the cabin would appear small, almost fragile against the vast wilderness. But inside it feels strong, grounded, rooted in effort, rooted in resilience. The body sinks further into rest, muscles fully releasing now, no more tension from the day's work, no more small thoughts about chores or repairs. The mind begins to drift, images soften, memories blur, the sound of wind becomes distant background noise, the crackle of embers becomes rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Time on the frontier does not rush. There are no glowing clocks, no buzzing notifications, only darkness and stars, only natural cycles. In the deeper part of the night, temperatures fall further. Outside, frost gathers more thickly along grass and fallen logs. The forest floor grows still. Animals retreat to dens and hidden spaces. Even predators move more quietly now. Inside the cabin, the stored warmth of stone continues radiating gently. The embers shrink smaller, but they endure, because they were prepared properly, because the fire was arranged with intention. A soft sigh escapes the sleeping figure beneath the blankets. Breath steady, deep. The body has accepted the night, accepted rest. The frontier has a way of exhausting the body in healthy ways. Physical labour, fresh air, natural rhythm. Sleep here comes honestly. No artificial lights, no endless noise, just darkness, warmth, security. The cabin itself seems to breathe with the wind, expanding slightly, settling gently, timber adjusting to the cooling air. These sounds are not disruptive. They are comforting, proof that the structure is alive in its own way. Hours pass quietly. The moon begins its slow descent toward the horizon. Stars shift positions overhead. The night moves forward without urgency. Inside, dreams begin forming softly, not vivid, not chaotic, but slow and gentle. Images of open fields, of early morning light, of simple daily tasks waiting for tomorrow. Even in sleep, the frontier remains part of the mind, because it is constant. It is environment and existence combined. The embers glow faintly now, small points of orange within grey ash, their warmth reduced but steady. The cabin remains protected, the door unmoved, the shutter firm, the beam secure, the forest outside quieter now than earlier, as if the land itself has grown tired, wind slowing slightly, leaves less restless. The deepest part of night has arrived, and inside this wooden shelter, everything is still, everything is prepared, everything is safe. The body rests completely now, no shifting, no stirring, only slow breathing. Inhale, exhale, matching the last faint pulses of warmth from the hearth. The American frontier stretches vast and wild beyond these walls, but tonight, within this small cabin, there is calm, there is quiet, there is rest earned through effort, and as the hours drift slowly toward dawn, sleep holds steady, unbroken, peaceful. The night has stretched long across the American frontier. Hours have passed in quiet rhythm. The moon, once high above the forest, now hangs lower in the sky, its silver glow softer than before. Inside the wooden cabin, the embers in the hearth glow faintly beneath layers of grey ash. They are no longer bright, no longer lively, but they remain. Small red pulses of warmth in the darkness. This is the coldest hour of the night, the hour just before dawn, when warmth feels most distant, when the world feels suspended between yesterday and tomorrow. Outside, frost has settled thick across the clearing. Grass blades sparkle faintly under moonlight. The stream nearby moves slowly, its surface edged with delicate ice. The forest stands still. Even the wind has quieted now. Branches no longer scrape against one another. Leaves barely move. It is as if the entire frontier is holding its breath. Inside the cabin, the air feels cooler than before. The stored heat in the stone hearth has faded gradually through the night. The wooden walls, though thick, cannot completely resist the creeping cold. Under the wool blankets, the sleeping figure shifts slightly, not awake, just responding to the change in temperature. A deeper curl beneath the heavy fabric, a quiet instinct for warmth. The straw mattress rustles softly, the sound brief, then still again. Breathing remains slow and steady. Inhale, exhale, long and calm. The embers give one soft crackle. A small piece of wood collapses inward, releasing a faint glow before settling again. The room grows darker, shadows thickening along the ceiling beams. The oil lamp remains untouched on the table, its glass reflecting faint moonlight filtering through tiny gaps in the shutter. There is no artificial noise here, no distant engines, no electric hum, only the gentle rhythm of a frontier night. Outside, somewhere deep within the trees, a deer steps carefully through frost. Its hooves press softly into frozen grass, the sound barely audible. A distant owl calls once more, lower than earlier, shorter. Then silence returns. This hour is different. It carries a certain stillness, a weight, not heavy with danger, but heavy with quiet. Inside the cabin, breath becomes slightly visible in the cooling air, a faint mist with each exhale. The body beneath the blankets feels the chill, but the wool holds strong. Layers trap warmth carefully. The thick fabric is scratchy to the touch, but dependable, reliable against cold. The person stirs once more, a hand emerging briefly from beneath the blanket, reaching toward the pillow, adjusting slightly, then retreating back into warmth. Even in sleep, the frontier shapes instinct. Movement small, energy conserved. The embers in the hearth glow weaker now, but they are not gone. They were prepared carefully in the evening, layered to endure. Slow-burning hardwood beneath ash, a final gift from yesterday's labour. Outside, the stars begin to fade ever so slightly, not noticeably at first, but subtly. The sky's deepest black softens toward dark blue. Dawn is not yet visible, but it approaches quietly. The coldest hour lingers just before its arrival. The wooden cabin creaks softly once, timber contracting as temperatures dip. The sound echoes gently within the small space, not alarming, just natural. The forest remains nearly motionless. Even predators rest during this hour, energy preserved for later movement. It is a moment of pause for the entire land. Inside, the sleeper remains wrapped securely. The straw mattress holds firm. The feather pillow moulds gently beneath the head. Dreams drift softly through the mind, not vivid, not restless. Simple impressions, perhaps of sunlight on the clearing, of chopping wood earlier in the day, of smoke rising steadily from the chimney. Even dreams here are grounded, practical. The breath remains slow, matching the quiet pulse of the last embers. Time stretches thin during this hour. Minutes feel longer. The night feels endless, but change is already beginning. Outside, the faintest hint of grey touches the horizon beyond the trees, barely noticeable, but present. The moon lowers further, its brightness dimming. The frost across the clearing thickens one final time before sunrise. The stream murmurs faintly beneath thin ice, water always moving. even when unseen. Inside the cabin, the embers flicker again, one small glow brightening briefly, then dimming. Their warmth is nearly spent, but they have done their work. They have guarded the night, protected the rest. A small sigh escapes the sleeping figure. A deeper breath follows. The body senses the approaching shift from night to morning, even without clocks, even without light. There is an internal rhythm, a natural awareness. The cold feels sharper now, but it will not last long. Dawn brings movement. Dawn brings warmth. Dawn brings fire rebuilt and day begun. The frontier teaches resilience during this hour. There are no electric heaters to click on, no thermostat to adjust. Only patience, only blankets, only preparation from the night before, and that preparation is enough. Outside, the sky lightens slightly more, dark blue turning softer, stars fading one by one. The forest begins to awaken gently, a faint rustle in distant brush, a small bird shifting in its nest. Still no full song, but readiness. Inside, the sleeper begins to stir more noticeably, not awake yet, but closer. Breathing deepens, fingers flex slightly beneath wool. The body prepares to rise with the sun. The cabin interior is still dim, but no longer pitch black. The faintest pre-dawn light slips through tiny gaps along the shutter edges. Soft grey lines across the floor, across the table, across the bed. The coldest hour is ending. The stillest moment of the frontier night is passing. And in its place, a new day quietly forms. The embers in the hearth glow one final time. A small red pulse, then softer. Ash settling around them completely. Their task complete. The body beneath the blankets shifts once more. A slow inhale. A longer exhale. Eyes flutter gently beneath closed lids. The mind rising slowly from dream. The American frontier prepares for morning, and inside this humble wooden cabin, the coldest hour has passed. Rest remains, but awakening is near. The coldest hour has passed. Silently, slowly. And now, without announcement, dawn begins its quiet arrival. Outside the wooden cabin, the sky shifts from deep blue to a softer grey. The stars fade gently, one by one, retreating as morning approaches. The moon hangs low, pale and tired, before disappearing behind the treetops. Frost covers the clearing like a thin silver blanket. Each blade of grass holds a tiny crystal of ice. The forest stands still, but no longer asleep. There is a subtle change in the air, a readiness, a quiet expectation. Inside the cabin, the darkness begins to thin. The faintest morning light slips through the narrow edges of the wooden shutter. Soft grey lines stretch across the wooden floor, across the small table, across the straw mattress. Beneath the heavy wool blankets, the sleeping figure stirs. Not abruptly, not urgently, just a slow awareness returning to the body. A deeper inhale, a gradual exhale. The chill in the air is noticeable now. The embers in the hearth are nearly extinguished. Only a faint warmth lingers within the stone. The cabin feels colder than it did at midnight. But dawn brings purpose, and purpose brings movement. A hand emerges from beneath the blanket. Cool air brushes against skin. Fingers flex gently. The straw mattress rustles softly as the body shifts. Eyes open slowly, blinking against the dim light. There are no alarms here, no sudden noise to force waking, only the natural pull of morning. The first sounds of the frontier day begin outside. A small bird calls from a nearby branch, short and uncertain at first. Then another answers from deeper within the trees. Soon a gentle chorus begins forming. Soft chirps, light rustling of wings, the forest stretching awake. Inside the cabin, the sleeper sits up slowly. The blanket slides down to the lap. Cool air wraps around shoulders. A quiet breath escapes, visible in faint mist. For a moment, there is stillness, a pause between rest and labour. The day has not yet demanded anything. It simply waits. Bare feet lower carefully onto the wooden floor. The boards feel cold, but solid, reliable. The body stands, stretching gently, arms rising overhead, back arching slightly, muscles remembering yesterday's work. The fireplace calls for attention first. Without fire, the cabin will remain cold. The person kneels beside the hearth. Ash rests thick over last night's embers, but preparation was careful. Beneath the ash, a faint red glow remains, still alive, still useful. A small breath is blown gently across the embers. Ash shifts lightly. A tiny spark brightens. Another breath, softer this time. The ember glows brighter, hopeful. Small pieces of dry kindling are gathered from beside the hearth. Thin twigs, scraps of wood prepared the day before. They are placed carefully over the glowing core, not too heavy, not too quickly. Patience is key. A third gentle breath. The ember responds. A thin ribbon of smoke rises. Then, a tiny flame flickers. Weak at first, but alive. The kindling catches slowly. A small crackle fills the quiet cabin. Warmth begins its return. The flame grows slightly stronger. Larger pieces of wood are added gradually, balanced carefully, allowing air to flow between them. Within minutes, the fire has been reborn, not roaring, but steady, reliable once more. The stone hearth absorbs the renewed heat. The cabin begins warming gently. The morning light grows brighter through the shutter cracks, grey shifting toward pale gold. Outside, the frost sparkles as sunlight touches the horizon. The forest awakens more fully now. Birdsong increases. Leaves stir lightly as animals begin moving. The frontier day has begun. Inside, the person stands slowly, walking toward the wooden door. The iron latch is lifted. The heavy beam moved aside. The door opens with a low creak. Cold morning air rushes inward briefly. Fresh, sharp, clean. The clearing stretches ahead, covered in frost. The sky now painted in soft pink and pale orange near the horizon. Sunlight peeks between distant trees, thin rays reaching outward. Breath forms visible clouds in the cool air. The world feels new again, reset, quiet, peaceful. The person steps just outside the cabin. Boots crunch softly against frozen grass. The air smells of pine, of earth, of distant smoke from the chimney. There are no roads here, no distant houses, only forest, only open sky, only possibility. The moment is brief, because the day requires work. The door is closed gently once more, the latch secured loosely now, not against danger, but against cold draughts. Inside, the fire burns steadily, warmth spreading slowly. The oil lamp remains untouched, unnecessary in daylight. The person gathers a small metal kettle from the shelf, fills it with water from the bucket prepared last night, sets it carefully above the flame. Morning tea or simple boiled water begins warming, every movement unhurried, deliberate. The wooden table catches the first real beams of sunlight through the small window as the shutter is opened slightly. Light spills across the surface, illuminating scratches and grain patterns. Dust particles float gently in golden rays. The cabin feels different in morning light, less mysterious, more grounded. The shadows softer, the air fresher. The bed remains slightly unmade, blankets folded loosely. But there is time for that. The body moves steadily now, fully awake, fully present. Outside, a squirrel darts across the clearing, quick and energetic. Birds hop between branches. The frost begins melting slowly where sunlight touches it. Tiny droplets forming, glistening briefly before falling. Inside the cabin, steam rises from the kettle, soft and swirling. The person pours hot water into a simple tin cup, holds it between both hands, absorbing warmth through fingers, taking a slow sip, heat spreading gently through chest. The fire crackles brighter now, fully alive, ready for the tasks ahead. The frontier does not allow idleness. Wood must be chopped, water must be carried, food must be gathered or prepared. But for a few more moments, there is calm. The sunrise grows stronger. Golden light fills the clearing. The sky brightens fully, blue replacing pink. Clouds thin and high above. The night has completely retreated. The coldest hour is a memory. The cabin stands steady. Smoke rises once more from the chimney, thin and peaceful, a sign of life, a sign of continuation. Inside, the person finishes the last sip of warm water, places the cup gently on the table, breath steady, mind clear. Another day on the American frontier begins, and though the land remains wild, though challenges will surely come, this morning feels hopeful, quiet, grounded. The sun climbs slowly higher, light filling every corner of the clearing, and inside the wooden cabin, warmth has returned, purpose has returned, and the rhythm of frontier life continues once again. The fire burns steadily behind. Warmth fills the cabin once more, but the day does not truly begin until one steps outside. The wooden door opens slowly. Its hinges release a familiar low creak. Morning air flows inward again, cold, fresh, and sharp. It carries the scent of pine trees, of damp earth, of frost slowly melting under rising sunlight. Boots step forward onto the clearing. The ground crunches softly. Last traces of ice still cling to the grass. The American frontier stretches wide and untouched in every direction. No fences, no distant roads, no smoke from neighbouring houses, only forest, only sky, only space. The sun has climbed just above the tree line now. Golden rays spill through tall trees. Long beams of light stretch across the clearing like glowing pathways. Tiny droplets of melting frost sparkle in that light. For a moment, everything feels suspended, still peaceful, still quiet, but alive. A slow breath fills the lungs. Cold air expands inside the chest. It feels clean, honest. There is something different about frontier air. No smoke from factories, no crowded streets, only wilderness. The trees stand tall and steady, their bark rough, their branches stretching high. Some leaves tremble slightly in a light morning breeze. Birdsong surrounds the clearing now, more confident than earlier. Sparrows chirp quickly from low branches. A woodpecker taps rhythmically somewhere deeper in the forest. Farther away a hawk calls once, sharp, clear. The sounds blend into a natural harmony. Nothing forced, nothing mechanical, just life beginning again. The cabin behind looks small from this angle. A simple wooden structure built from logs cut by hand. Smoke rises gently from the chimney, thin and steady, a sign of preparation, a sign of continuation. The person steps farther into the clearing, boots pressing faint impressions into softening frost. The air is still cold, but the sunlight brings comfort. The horizon stretches wide beyond the trees, blue sky opening overhead, clouds thin and scattered, a new day fully forming. On the frontier, mornings are not rushed. There is no traffic, no schedule printed on paper, but there is responsibility. There is rhythm. Water must be checked first. The nearby stream lies just beyond a cluster of tall grass. A narrow path leads toward it, worn lightly from repeated footsteps, each step careful, the ground still slick in places from frost. Reaching the edge of the stream, the water can be heard clearly now, soft and continuous, flowing around smooth stones, its surface partly glazed with thin ice near the banks. But the centre moves freely. The water is clear, cold enough to sting fingertips. A metal bucket is dipped slowly into the stream, submerged, then lifted carefully, water sloshing gently inside, every drop valuable, every drop necessary. No taps to turn, no endless supply, only what can be gathered. The forest reflects in the stream's surface, tall trees mirrored upside down, the sky captured between ripples. For a brief moment there is stillness again, listening, watching. A deer steps cautiously between distant trees, its ears alert, its movements graceful. It pauses, observes, then disappears silently into brush. The wilderness is shared space, not owned, not controlled. Returning toward the cabin, the bucket feels heavier with each step, water shifting with movement. Boots crunch softer now as frost melts fully under sunlight. The clearing brightens steadily, shadows shortening. The cabin grows closer, smoke still rising gently. The door stands slightly open, inviting warmth inside. The bucket is placed carefully near the entrance, not spilled, not wasted. Next, wood must be gathered. The pile beside the cabin has thinned slightly. Enough for now, but preparation prevents worry later. An axe rests against the side of the cabin, its wooden handle worn smooth from repeated use, the blade sharp, trusted. The person walks toward a stack of previously cut logs resting near the tree line, each log carried one by one, placed neatly near the cabin wall, organized carefully. Frontier life rewards order, disorder wastes energy. The forest continues its quiet movement. Squirrels dart along branches overhead. A rabbit moves quickly across the edge of the clearing. Sunlight warms the air slightly more with each passing minute. The chill fades gradually. The axe is lifted now, balanced comfortably in hand, a single log placed upright upon a sturdy stump. Feet positioned firmly, breath steady. The axe rises, then falls. A clean strike, wood splitting neatly in two. The sound echoes briefly through the trees, not loud, but solid. Another piece positioned, another steady swing, each movement controlled, not rushed, energy conserved. Sweat begins to form lightly along the forehead despite the cool air. Physical work warms the body quickly. Breathing deepens, rhythmic. With each split log, a sense of readiness grows. More fuel for the fire, more security for the night ahead. On the American frontier, mornings are built on preparation. Preparation brings peace. After several logs are split, the axe is returned to its place, the pile now larger, sufficient. The sun climbs higher still. Golden light becomes brighter, stronger. The frost fully melted now, grass bending softly under boots, the forest more active, birds flying between branches, insects beginning their quiet hum, the world fully awake. The person pauses once more, standing in the clearing, hands resting briefly at the sides, looking outward across the land. There is no crowd here, no constant voices, only wind moving gently through treetops, only the quiet presence of nature. There is effort required here, hardship at times, cold nights, long days, but there is also clarity, a simple rhythm. Wake with the sun, work with purpose, rest with preparation. The cabin stands steady behind. The fire within continues burning softly. Water gathered, wood prepared. The morning well begun. A final breath fills the lungs deeply. Sunlight warming the face now. The American frontier stretches vast and unpredictable. But in this small clearing, on this quiet morning, there is balance, there is readiness, there is calm strength. And as the day moves forward, the rhythm of wilderness and human effort continues together, side by side. The sun now sits higher in the sky, its golden light no longer soft and pale like dawn, but steady, confident. The chill that ruled the night has almost disappeared. Warmth slowly spreads across the clearing. Shadows shorten beside the cabin. Smoke continues rising from the chimney in a thin, peaceful line. The morning has already begun with water gathered and wood split, but on the American frontier, that is only the beginning. Mid-morning is when real labour settles into rhythm. Not rushed, not chaotic, just steady, purposeful. The person steps back inside the cabin briefly. The fire burns calmly, not roaring, just strong enough to heat the small space. The kettle rests near the edge of the hearth. Warm water still inside. A small sip is taken. Energy conserved. Mind focused. The door is left slightly open now, letting fresh air flow through, carrying the scent of pine and sun-warmed earth. Next comes tools, simple ones. A hoe leaning against the wall, a small shovel. A coil of rope neatly hung on a wooden peg. Each item has value, each one maintained carefully. Outside again, boots press firmly into the clearing. The soil near the cabin has been turned before. Small rows prepared weeks earlier. A modest garden, nothing large, but enough to support survival. Cornstalks stretch upward, still young but steady. Beans curl gently around wooden stakes. Potato plants spread low across the earth. The soil feels damp from melted frost, perfect for tending. The hoe is lifted. Its metal edge presses lightly into the ground. Weeds are removed carefully, not violently, just firm and controlled. The soil breaks softly, releasing the scent of fresh earth, that rich, grounding smell, a smell of life. Birds continue singing overhead. A robin hops across the edge of the garden, searching for insects in the loosened soil. Mid-morning work creates a quiet partnership with nature. The person works row by row, not thinking about the entire field, just the space directly ahead. Weed, clear, loosen, move forward, breathing steady, sweat forming lightly at the back of the neck. The sun warms shoulders through simple clothing. There is no hurry, because rushing wastes strength. Frontier survival depends on endurance. After tending the garden, attention shifts toward the animal pen nearby. A small fenced area constructed from rough wooden posts, simple but sturdy. If chickens are present, they move restlessly now, clucking softly, scratching at the ground. Eggs must be gathered, carefully, each one lifted gently, placed inside a woven basket, warm from the morning, fragile but valuable. If there is a goat or cow, water must be checked again, feed portioned carefully, nothing excessive, nothing wasted. The rope coil is used to secure a loose fence board. Maintenance is constant here. Small repairs prevent larger problems later. The forest hums softly beyond the clearing. Insects buzz lightly in the warming air. Leaves shimmer gently under sunlight. Mid-morning feels alive. Not loud, but active. The axe is lifted once more. Not for heavy splitting, but for trimming fallen branches near the cabin. A branch that might scrape the roof during wind. Cut cleanly, stacked neatly for future firewood. Each action small, but meaningful. Sweat now beads across the forehead. Breathing deeper, arms steady from repetition. The sun climbs even higher. Light brightens across the clearing. Clouds drift slowly above. No sign of storm, just open sky. The stream nearby continues its gentle movement. Water glinting in sunlight. Perhaps clothes must be rinsed there. A shirt carried carefully. Submerged into cold water. Hands pressing fabric against stone. Rinsing yesterday's labour away. The cold stings briefly, but it awakens the senses. Clothes wrung out slowly, hung across a simple rope line stretched between two trees. They sway gently in the breeze, drying naturally. No machines, no spinning drums, just air and sunlight. Returning to the cabin, the garden rows look cleaner now, the woodpile larger, water bucket filled, animals fed, small repairs completed. Mid-morning work may not look dramatic, but it builds security. It builds confidence. Each task reduces uncertainty for later hours. The body feels stronger now, fully awake, fully engaged. A short pause comes naturally, standing at the edge of the clearing, hands resting briefly on hips, looking out across the land. Beyond the trees lies endless wilderness, unpredictable. But here, in this small patch of earth, there is order, there is structure, there is care. Birdsong remains constant. A woodpecker taps again in the distance. Wind brushes lightly through tall grass. The scent of warm soil mixes with faint smoke from the chimney. The rhythm of survival continues. A final walk around the perimeter of the clearing ensures nothing is disturbed. Fence secure, no signs of predators, no broken posts, just quiet stability. Mid-morning slowly approaches its end. The sun now bright, the shadows shorter, energy steady but not drained. On the American frontier, survival is not built on one heroic act. It is built on repetition, consistency, attention to detail, water carried daily, wood split daily, soil tended daily, animals checked daily, fire rebuilt daily. Each small act creates safety for the night ahead. The person returns to the cabin doorway once more, pauses, looks inside at the steady fire, looks back out at the clearing, everything in balance, everything prepared, mid-morning labour complete, not flashy, not loud, but deeply important. The day will continue. More tasks may come, perhaps hunting later, perhaps mending tools, perhaps preparing food for winter storage, but for now, the rhythm remains steady, calm, intentional, and under the wide-open sky of the American frontier, the simple act of consistent work creates a quiet kind of peace. The sun now stands high above the frontier, its warmth stronger, its light brighter, shadows short and sharp beneath the cabin walls. Mid-morning chores are complete. The garden is tended, water gathered, animals fed, wood stacked neatly beside the cabin. But survival on the American frontier requires more than daily maintenance. It requires preparation for tomorrow, for winter, for uncertainty. Inside the cabin, the fire has burned down slightly, still alive, still steady, but no longer demanding attention. The air inside feels warmer now, comfortable. The woven basket of eggs rests safely on the table, a reminder that food must be handled carefully. Food is not simply eaten here. It is planned, preserved, protected. The person reaches for a small leather satchel hanging from a wooden peg. Inside are simple tools, a small knife, some cord, a flint, not heavy equipment, not elaborate gear, just essentials. The afternoon may call for hunting, not because hunger demands it immediately, but because supply must be steady. The forest does not promise success every day, so when opportunity appears, it must be taken. Stepping outside again, the sun warms the clearing fully now. The morning frost long gone, the grass dry and soft beneath boots. Birdsong continues, though less frantic than earlier. Creatures settle into daytime patterns. The forest is alert. The path beyond the clearing leads deeper into trees, a narrow trail formed through repeated steps over time. The cabin fades behind slowly with each step forward. The forest closes in gently. Tall trunks rise like pillars, shadows cool beneath their canopy. The scent changes here. Less sun-warmed grass, more damp leaves, more earth. The sound of boots on soil becomes softer. The stream can still be heard faintly in the distance, but other sounds emerge now. A branch cracking far off, leaves shifting overhead, the subtle movements of wildlife. Hunting on the frontier is never reckless. It is patient, measured. Energy must not be wasted chasing blindly. The person pauses frequently, listening, observing, breathing slow and steady. A squirrel darts across a branch above, too small to justify the effort today. A rabbit's tracks appear lightly in soft soil, fresh, but direction unclear. The forest provides signs. One must learn to read them. Sunlight filters through leaves in scattered beams. Dust motes drift within those golden shafts. Time feels slower here, more deliberate. Eventually, a small clearing deeper within the forest appears, open enough for deer to graze occasionally. The grass here is slightly flattened in patches, a sign of recent movement. The person kneels carefully behind a fallen log. Stillness becomes essential, breath controlled, eyes scanning gently. Minutes pass quietly. No impatience, only waiting. The forest does not reward haste. A faint rustle, then another. From between two trees a deer steps cautiously into view, its ears alert, its movements careful. It lowers its head briefly to graze, then lifts it again, listening. The decision must be calm, respectful. If hunting is necessary, it must be clean, precise. The person steadies their breath. Time slows. The forest quiets further as if watching. And then, action. Quick, controlled. No chaos, no shouting. Just one deliberate movement. The deer falls swiftly. Silence returns almost immediately. The forest absorbs the moment. Hunting on the frontier is not celebration, it is responsibility. The person approaches carefully. Gratitude felt quietly. This life will provide sustenance, warmth, strength for many days. Work begins immediately. The knife used skillfully, efficiently, nothing wasted, meat carefully prepared, portions wrapped securely, the remaining parts respectfully returned to the earth. Nature gives, nature reclaims. The load carried back toward the cabin is heavy, but meaningful, each step steady. Sunlight shifts slightly as afternoon begins its slow descent. The forest thins again near the clearing. The cabin comes back into view, smoke still rising gently. Home. Inside the cabin, preparation begins quickly. The fire is strengthened slightly, not blazing, but hot enough for cooking and preservation. Meat must not spoil. Some portions will be cooked fresh tonight. Others must be dried, salted if supplies allow. Strips are cut carefully, hung above the hearth where smoke can cure them slowly. The scent changes inside the cabin now, richer, heavier. Food preparation requires focus. Eggs gathered earlier may be used now as well. Perhaps a simple meal prepared from what is available. A stew begun in the iron pot. Water from the stream added. Vegetables from the garden chopped carefully. Beans, potatoes, a small portion of fresh meat. The pot rests above steady flame, simmering slowly. Afternoon light streams through the open shutter, illuminating steam rising from the pot. Outside, the forest hums with daytime life. Inside, preservation continues. Meat hung carefully to smoke, some placed in cooler corners of the cabin. Air circulation important. Spoilage avoided through attention. Nothing rushed, every movement purposeful. Sweat forms lightly again from the warmth of the fire. Hands steady, knife precise. By late afternoon much is accomplished. Fresh food secured, future meals protected. The cabin smells of smoke and sustenance. The woodpile stands ready, water bucket still half full, the garden quiet under sun. The frontier demands effort, but it also rewards preparation. The body feels tired now, not exhausted, but used, satisfied. The sun begins lowering slightly, shadows stretching longer across the clearing once more. Afternoon shifting gently toward evening. The hardest work of the day is done. Hunting complete, food preserved, dinner simmering slowly. The person steps outside once more, breathing in cooler air as sunlight softens, looking across the clearing, everything steady, everything in order. The American frontier remains vast and unpredictable beyond these trees, but inside this small space, within this daily rhythm, there is control, there is readiness, there is resilience, and as the afternoon light grows warmer and deeper, another evening will soon arrive, another fire will be tended, another night prepared carefully. But for now, the work of survival has been honoured, and the day continues its quiet descent toward rest. The sun has begun its slow descent behind the trees. Its golden light is no longer bright and sharp like midday. Now it feels softer, warmer, almost gentle. Long shadows stretch across the clearing. The cabin casts a dark shape across the grass. Smoke rises steadily from the chimney, but thinner now. Inside, the iron pot still simmers above the fire. The scent of cooked vegetables and fresh meat fills the air. It is not a luxurious meal. It is not decorated, but it is earned, and that makes it enough. The person steps outside once more before fully settling in. The sky's painted in shades of orange and pale pink. Clouds glow briefly as the sun lowers further. The forest begins changing its tone. Birdsong slows. Day creatures retreat. Evening creatures prepare to emerge. The air cools slightly again, not yet cold, but no longer warm. The clearing feels peaceful, still. The work of the day has been completed. Water gathered, wood stacked, garden tended, food secured and preserved. Nothing urgent remains. That is the reward of preparation. Inside the cabin, the fire crackles softly, not roaring, just steady and comforting. The iron pot is lifted carefully from the flame. Placed onto a wooden surface, steam rises slowly. A simple wooden bowl is filled. The person sits at the small table near the window. Evening light filters through the open shutter, casting golden stripes across the wooden floor. The first spoonful is taken slowly. Warm, rich, simple flavours. Vegetables softened by hours of gentle cooking. Meat tender and satisfying. There's no rush while eating. Each bite is appreciated, because every bite represents effort, represents time spent gathering, preparing, protecting. Outside, the sun dips lower. The pink sky deepens into orange, then slowly toward purple. The forest quiets further. A distant owl calls faintly. Not fully night yet, but close. The meal is finished without waste. The bowl wiped clean with a small piece of bread. The iron pot rinsed lightly with precious water. Nothing excessive, nothing careless. The fire is adjusted slightly. A small log added for steady evening warmth. The cabin glows gently in the growing darkness. The door is closed fully now. The iron latch checked. The wooden beam placed firmly once again. Not out of fear, but out of habit. Routine builds peace. The window shutter is closed carefully, secured tight. Inside, the oil lamp is lit, its flame small and controlled, casting soft golden light across the room. The walls glow warmly. Shadows dance lightly along the logs. The cabin feels smaller at night, but also safer, more intimate. The preserved meat hangs quietly above the hearth, slowly curing, preparing for days ahead. The wood pile visible through a small crack in the shutter, stacked neatly, waiting for tomorrow. The person sits quietly for a moment, hands resting loosely on knees, breathing steady, listening. Outside, night fully arrives. The last hint of colour fades from the sky. Stars appear once more, bright and numerous above the forest. The moon rises slowly again, silver light spilling across the clearing. The temperature drops steadily. Inside, the fire answers with warmth. The oil lamp flickers softly. The day feels complete, not dramatic, not extraordinary, but complete. On the American frontier, survival is not about grand victories. It is about small consistencies, about daily effort repeated patiently, about preparing today so tomorrow feels lighter. The person stands slowly, walks toward the hearth one final time. The fire is adjusted carefully, large logs positioned to burn slowly through the night. Ash moved gently to control flame, everything arranged intentionally. The oil lamp is lowered slightly, its flame smaller now. The straw mattress waits quietly in the corner, blankets folded back, ready. Boots are removed carefully near the door, placed in the same spot as yesterday. Order matters. Small order prevents morning confusion. The person lies down slowly. The mattress rustles softly beneath weight. Blankets pulled up firmly around shoulders. The warmth from the fire reaches gently across the room, not overpowering, just steady. Breathing slows gradually. Inhale, exhale. Outside, the forest speaks again. Wind brushes through treetops. A branch creaks faintly. An owl calls once more. Farther away this time, the frontier night has returned, just like before. But something feels different. Not because the wilderness has changed, but because preparation has been done, because effort has been given, because nothing has been left undone. The mind relaxes more easily now. No worry about wood, no concern about food, no anxiety about tomorrow's first task. Everything ready. The oil lamp is gently extinguished. Darkness fills the cabin again. Only the fire's glow remains, soft red embers cast in faint light along the walls. The cabin settles with small wooden creaks. Natural. Comforting. The person shifts slightly beneath blankets, finding warmth, finding comfort. The American frontier stretches endlessly beyond these walls, wild, unpredictable, powerful, but inside this cabin, there is calm, there is shelter, there is earned rest. Breathing slows further, muscles release. The events of the day fade softly into memory. Morning frost, midday work, afternoon hunt, evening meal, all completed, all honoured. Outside, frost will gather again before dawn. The coldest hour will return. The cycle will continue. But tonight, there is peace. The embers glow softly one last time before settling deeper into ash, and beneath thick wool blankets, sleep arrives gently, not forced, not restless, just natural, just earned. Another day on the American frontier has ended, and tomorrow the rhythm will begin again.